Hey guys, my name is Sawyer, I'm a Soybean on Roblox, and today I'm going to show you tips and tricks with the Roblox Terrain Editor. For starters, I'm going to show you every tip and trick I know on an island. We need to create that island. And so for making islands, I use the Paint tool with sand equipped, making sure Ignore Water is unchecked. Largest size brush, and I just paint the shape of my island. Notice how, when I scroll in, you can see the island comes down to meet the surface of the water. The water actually comes up to meet it slightly. If I were to use the Grow tool with Ignore Water selected, you can see that it almost looks better as I pull it out from afar, but when I zoom in, it becomes very apparent this method is inferior to painting because in some locations, more prevalent with more terrain, I suppose here, the water level, the sea level, is actually higher than the ground level, which players will notice almost immediately, and you can see, especially here, it's very undesirable. So now, let's paint the inside of our terrain using the grass tool, or excuse me, the grass material with the paint tool. Looks pretty good. We can go in now, flesh out the corners and the sharp edges. And one thing I didn't touch on is when you make your island, you want to make it look like you didn't create it with the largest size brush tool. This one kind of looks like a blob right now. So what we're going to do is go in with a small paint tool and just create peninsulas and little jagged edges that couldn't have been created with a tool that size, just to add that richness, that variety. And you can see we've almost totally broken the uniformity, and it looks much more natural. Wonderful. Let's go through and touch that up with grass. Okay. And so, it's always very important to remember what it looks like for a viewer. Down here on the ground, this perspective, it's very flat, very boring. We need to take the Grow tool, set the strength to almost none, and the size to almost maximum. Now we're going to scrub just very quickly along about half of our island. Perhaps you can be a little bit more generous towards the center. And you see now, from a viewer standpoint, the island has rolling depth. There's more substance here than there was before, and that's a very subtle change. They would not be able to immediately identify that if they didn't have a keen eye. But it's definitely one of the few things you can do to make your terrain look more realistic, because this is, after all, a fairly restrictive tool set. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a mountain over here on the side, and I'm going to show you the importance of layering. When we have so few materials to work with, it's very important to use them wisely. And one of the ways you can use them to the greatest effect is by layering, and I'll show you what I mean here. So this is our mountain. We're just creating it with the Grow tool, nothing fancy. So you can see how it's all stone, very, very bland. This is a lot of the this is a mistake a lot of new terrain users make initially, is they will make their mountain like this, and they'll say, okay, I'm done, I have a rock mountain, it is made of rock, it's good. What we can do to spice this up a little more is take the Erode tool and chisel away at it. Mountains are jagged things, they're rock, they've been torn by the earth. And so once we're happy that our mountain is rugged enough, what we do is to layer, grab the Grow tool, and then extrude grass along the contours. And you can see how the randomness, this is not like the Paint tool. The randomness of doing the Grow, I suppose the Grow paint method is so fine. You couldn't accomplish this with the brush tool in a reasonable amount of time. This allows you to create depth very quickly through layering. Now you could do this the reverse way, which I prefer actually to this way, which is to start off with a mountain that is entirely made out of grass. And you can extrude rock through the grass, and it's just a very different feel. So I'll show you what I mean with this second grass first method. And now we take the rock tool, rock material with the Grow tool, and grow rock out of the side. And make sure you set your strength to something fairly low for this. And you just pull it directly out of the mountain. Oh wow, that effect is just so unintentionally stunning. More rock the higher up you go, presumably. Wonderful. Very clean, very refined effect. Very random, too. That is one good looking mountain. Now, next, let's focus on caves. We want to make sure we have enough ground to work with. So grab the Add tool. This is one technique I have for expanding the underside of the map if I don't want to make it all deep, because it's very thin, what I have now. 1, 2, 3. Increase the size, and ensure the top of your cube clips to the top of the terrain, the bottom of the terrain. And now, on the horizontal grid, draw a big circle where you want your cave system to exist. Let's go back up top. Under this mountain here, let us grab the Erode tool with the sphere, decrease the size, increase the strength. And at about a 30-degree angle, we're going to go down and cut into that layer we've just generated underneath us. This is how I make cave systems. Now, cave systems on the inside look like a bunch of rock. And that can get very disorienting very quickly, as you'll see in a second. We don't really know which way is up if we were to look at this as a screenshot. And players find themselves lost easily. Just their eyes themselves are lost, maybe not their bearings. But anyways, we can see that I clearly didn't make enough depth to this, so we'll keep a shallow cave for now. But for the purposes of this demonstration, this should be satisfactory. Let's take the paint tool and paint along the inside to make it all rock, so I can show you how different it looks. Now we'll go back up to the surface and make a paint trail of grass. This catches people's eyes. They'll find this and they'll immediately orient themselves to it. Always give them an anchor. And then on the walls, we'll paint with ground. Wonderful. And this cave system is actually fleshed out. Beautiful. Perhaps the grass dies the farther down you go. 2 more things before I hang it up. The paint tool can be used to make beautiful waterfalls. Let's create one right here and just follow the exact contour of this mountain. Give it a delta up there. Oh, that is stunning. Perhaps it branches. Nice. What a wonderful waterfall. And perhaps, let's try a river now. What you can do for rivers is, on pre-existing terrain, erode the sides with ignore water selected. This is one method. Another method is to straight up use the subtract tool with the cube setting and just run through. Now you can touch up the edge, of course, with the erosion tool. And the same goes for lakes. If I were to create a lake over here, I would grab this tool, scale it up, gouge my terrain, and then I would fill that back in with water using the Add tool. Marvelous. And so I do believe we've covered everything from layering to waterfalls to cave systems, only on one island. Didn't take too much time, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And so now what I'm doing as a final touch-up is I'm just going along the map, making sure that it really does have depth by adding barriers and buffers between sand and grass. Almost always have a transistory material between 2 starkly contrasting materials. And so you can go through and touch up as much as you'd like. Very important to take away from this: layering, layering, layering. And always make sure you check out what it looks like from a viewer perspective. What would you see if this was a photo in real life? All right, thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. And let me know if I can do anything to improve improve your understanding of the terrain tools if you need me to create future videos. Thank you.